So this is the thing. God is faithful and God is kind and God is good, and you live inside of him and you came from him and you can't run away from him. And I know that there are times when you think your life is over and you think you're not going to make it and you think, what the hell and why? But God is living inside. It is a religious mind that says that you have to be cleaned up and you have to be good enough and you have to have all your ducks in a row to know God. Those people that were in the new covenant beginnings, the apostles, the disciples, both men and women, they were not perfect. They were simple fishermen at times. They were ignorant at times. Some of them were eloquent. Some of them came from a Pharisaical background and were trained in the knowledge of the Old Testament, the Old Covenant, and some didn't know anything. But yet, God lived through them to tell humanity about his goodness. I want to encourage you today that you are not alone, and that feeling alone and being alone are two different things. You can feel alone because that is based on an unloving frequency on the inside of you that maybe you lived in for so long that you don't know how to lean into this love frequency that God offers you from the inside. That could be the deep, strong, and strange loneliness that you face. I know I still face it at times. I know there are times when I catch myself feeling lonely, feeling alone, feeling like I'm not going to make it, feeling like, what is the purpose of my life? And then this voice, this thought from the inside reminds me, wait, you're from me and I'm from you. Reminds me that I came from the Christ from the beginning, from the foundation of the world. I encourage you and strongly admonish you to read Ephesians 1 and see your beginnings. See who you came from. See the why that you're on the planet. It will strengthen you. It will encourage you. And it will cause you to be reminded that God is at your helm, that you are not forgotten, that you're not forsaken, that there's nobody like you, because God lives inside of you. You have a very unique blueprint, my friend, a very unique one. There's not another blueprint like yours. God lives in you through your blueprint for him to make his mark on the planet, in you, through you, by you, because his spirit abides in you. You could not live if it were not for the breath of God. And when your breath is done on this planet, your spirit breath will continue in the next space that you step into. When this flesh is over, there is a space for you outside of this earthly realm, into a different realm, into another place where there are the witnesses that have gone before us, where there is Father, Son, and Spirit awaiting, where there are probably angelic hosts. And there's much discussion on whether angels are messengers or angels are supernatural. I have a tendency to think it's a little bit of both. And I have a tendency to believe that there's going to be so much we will discover when we leave this planet that we didn't know when we were here. Please know you're not alone. Please know today is not the day for you to give up. Please know today is the day for you to remember that God is at your helm. And it reminds me of a story. I'm going to look it up real quick. The book of Acts. There's a story in the book of Acts about a man. His name was Paul. At one time, his name was Saul. But then he met the Lord through an encounter, through a supernatural encounter. He met the Lord. And in that space, he came face to face with the one he had no idea lived inside of him. Paul talked about how the Christ was revealed in him. And that began his true journey his authentic journey of intimacy instead of religion. He entered into a relationship where it was an exchange and not just God pursuing him, but him also in SYNC with the one who lived inside of him. And in that space, Jesus allowed him, Paul, the opportunity to tell others about this amazing possibility of knowing this God, that the Jewish people could know this God intimately. He began to tell the story of the Christ. Listen, he came from a Jewish Pharisaical background, and he got assigned to those that did not come from that kind of background. And then there was a guy named Peter that was assigned, who was just a fisherman, that was assigned to the actual people of the Jewish background. And so God came in their weaknesses and said, hey, let me show you how strong I can be in you as you share my life with these people. So at one point in time in the journey that Paul made, he was faced with getting to go give the message of God to a Caesar. And as he was in his journey, where that was one of his destinations, that was one of his assignments while he was on planet Earth, in this journey, he was in stocks and chains and also set free at the same time, meaning he was a prisoner, yet he was free to roam around the cabin, and he was on a boat. And in that boat, they traveled this long distance, and in that space, in that boat, they came upon these really strong storms, and the boat was going to go down. And Paul, it said Paul himself was so discouraged, he thought they were all going to die. For a moment, Paul lost hope. For a moment, Paul, the one who had met God face to face, the one who had him revealed inside, and he knew he lived inside of him. For a moment, Paul was discouraged. For a moment, Paul lost his mind, the mind of Christ. And God, being so kind, met Paul with an angelic visitor and said, hey, you still got work to do. You're going to be all right. You're going to live. You're going to live. And there was an assignment for Paul, and he was told, gave him some instructions. And so everybody on the boat, they all lived. They had to take some practical actions to get rid of some of the weight that was on the boat. But they all lived. And Paul got to the other side with this little bitty piece of wood in his hand, basically. And then when you read through that story, you will see the great powerful miracles that took place and the witness that he was to another group of people that was waiting on the other side to see who God is, what God did, and what it meant for them. There is a real place where you're going to meet strong storms. You're going to be in some storms, and they're going to be so strong you're going to think you're going to die. And there are going to be times when you will, or maybe you will not, get a visitation from something supernatural to help you. But if you will recall and remember that the Christ lives inside of you, and if you will reach in to listen to the voice inside that has this strong and stable and secure mind that is communicating from this place of love with the Father, you will be strengthened and able to move forward in this lifetime. In this lifetime. Now, are there times when this lifetime is over? Yes, there are. There are. There are days when actually our time is done. But until that time comes, keep connecting with the sun. Keep standing in the one until that time here is done. Anyway, I bless you. God is at your helm. You're not alone. Don't give up. Don't give up. Don't turn back. Don't give in to the voices and the thoughts and the ideas that make you feel like you need to die. You don't need to. Today's the day to live. Anyway, I bless you and I encourage you and strengthen you today. This is Donna. Until soon. Now I'm going to attempt to turn this off. Stop streaming. Share with a friend if you think it'll encourage them. Bye.